Do all of your employees use English to communicate back and forth? How do you deal with language or cultural differences? So not all of our employees use English to communicate back and forth. Some of them use different languages. I know that, as an example, in our company, some of our developers are located in Eastern Europe. I speak French and English, as an example. I'm one of the only employees that speak French, but that's, I guess that's neither here nor there because I have no one to talk to. But there's a lot of different languages. There's also Tagalog, which is spoken quite a bit. All of our customer service agents speak Tagalog. They speak English as their first language, but Tagalog is a close second. And we actually have what we call the sort of staff.com group chat zone on our Skype chat, which has all of our different employees where we can talk about absolutely anything. It's usually like, you know, we talked about the new iPhone that came out last week. We talk about video games. We talk about sports, whatever it might be. And you see a lot of Tagalog. You'll see a lot of, um, of Russian, Ukrainian, Polish going across our screens. So everyone does speak English, like that's basically the company language, but there are different languages that go on. And to be honest with you, I don't necessarily need to know what, if a marketing team can speak easier in Tagalog and can communicate easier in Tagalog, then let them speak that language. Do you really need to know that? I don't think you do. All you need to know is that the project manager can speak to you in English and you're moving the rock forward, right? And you're moving the rock forward by being able to make sure that you have metrics on all your different employees. So whether that means using time tracking technology like Time Doctor, whether that means having them submit weekly reports, whether that means having them do a 5 or 10 minute meeting every day, which is what we do in our company. So everybody does a 5 to 10 minute meeting every single day in the company, in combination with probably about a half-hour meeting once a week, just to sort of figure out what we had done. You need to be able to track all that data, and make sure that it is reliable. Now, cultural differences are a completely different kettle of fish. Cultural differences are really interesting, particularly when dealing with Southeast Asia. A lot of employees in the Philippines and most of Southeast Asia, they have this sort of employer mentality that Westerners do not necessarily have. So you'll get a lot more of a yes man type of culture in Southeast Asia than you would in North America. Usually in North America, workers will tell you, hey, you're wrong and here's why. In Southeast Asia, if you say, hey, we're going to do ABC, and your employee thinks that ABC is a horrible idea, they'll go along with it anyways, just because they don't want to get into conflict with you. And that actually is really bad when you're talking about a remote business, because here's a particular use case. And this is something that we actually use with our employees. We have a test that we run with our employees, which is quite successful. And I ran this with a graphics designer a while ago. So we sent a graphic designer. We had narrowed it down to about 5 or 6 graphics designers. And we sent them all a test. And the test was actually, it was this thing right here, which is basically a $100 coupon to staff.com. And what we told them to do is said that we want you to change the 100 to a 50, and we want you to change the color to green. Yeah, from red to green or something like that. So we said, great. And we said, okay, make all these changes, send it out, and send it back to me. And the file is a .psd, which is a Photoshop file. And a .psd means it's editable, means it has many layers. So you can very quickly go in, edit the image, and throw it back out. So I specifically said it was a .psd image in the email instructions. But it was not a .psd image. It was a .gif. It was a .gif, which is a flattened image, which means it's uneditable. It's very difficult to edit that file. So the test wasn't, can you make these edits? Because they all had fantastic portfolios. And if you look at any of the work that we do, some of our infographics, our website, anything like that on staff.com, we've got a great team of graphics designers that really know what they're doing. And everyone else could do that same job. What we were testing and this is really important, what we were testing was whether or not they could email us back and say, hey, this is a GIF. You said you were going to send me a .psd. Can you send me a .psd, please? Because that turns a job that's basically impossible into a 3-minute job. It's a very quick click, 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 and finish it up and send it back out. So we had about a third of the group that basically told us, hey, you said this was a .psd. I think you made a mistake. You should send me a .gif. A third of the group that took the GIF and actually edited it. So they literally they grabbed the GIF, they screwed around with it, and then they basically kind of semi recreated it, and they sent that back out. That took them hours. And then we had another group that actually, 2 people that completely recreated this graphic completely front and back, which took about 5 or 6 hours. Right? So a 3-minute job turned into a 6-hour job. Now, if you've got remote employees working all over the world, and I'm here on Eastern Standard Time, and in the Philippines, it's a 12-hour difference, and I give someone instructions to say, hey, you need to make these 4 changes to this image, and then you don't tell me right away, hey, I need you to solve this problem. I need you to send me a PSD instead of a .gif. They just spent their entire day doing something that could have been done in 3 minutes. I've lost that entire day's labor. I've lost that entire day's work. So you need people that can tell you when you're wrong. It's so important to be able to make sure that you've got people that can tell you, hey, I'm wrong. This is, you need to be able to solve this problem immediately, and then I can get back to work. So with regards to culture, you have to really make sure that, particularly in Southeast Asia, you're dealing with people that can tell you when you're right and when you're wrong. It's so important in business, and it's even more important when you start a startup.